Okay, so today's not. It's almost 9:30, and it's December 22nd, and it's our work session, and we're going to start with Pets Alive, the Pets Alive discussion, and Jennifer, you want to come up and with some of your team, and they're going to discuss the proposal to take over. To take over the Pets Alive, property.
You know us and ourselves.
Thank you.
Want to slide some chairs over? Is that okay?
Is there room or?
Yeah,
Can we
you could,
just, Is it all right to bring some extra chairs over?
Sure.
Thank you. You can shuffle down.
She's got your
And I'll shuffle over.
pause, cross down.
We're done. Please. Julie.
Save that one for the town attorney.
As everybody knows, Pets Alive agreed to turn over the property.
Come on, let's go.
They're going to turn over the property to the town.
I'm a bossy person,
the
I know.
recommendation, that I have, after hearing from the town board, is that we do transfer the deed to the town, and then, if possible, like a second later, transfer it to Quaz, Quaz. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for fitting us into your schedule today, and we really appreciate the town's tenacity with this and support of our cause. We're really appreciative of it. So I'm Jennifer Angelucci. I'm President and CEO of Paws Crossed. Leslie Z is our board member. We have Donna Troiani. Sorry, I skipped you. She is going to be our shelter manager. We have Julie Potter. She's the chairman of the board, and we have our attorney Ivan Klein with us. So we've certainly come a very long way since the last time we were at this meeting. We have secured insurance. We have not property insurance yet, but we are receiving quotes, and we are assured that we could have property insurance in a very quick time as soon as the turnover happens. We have directors and officers insurance, and we have general liability insurance that's paid through the year already. We received our 501c3 tax-exempt status in October, so we're very happy for that. We still have our awesome group of about 40 to 50 volunteers that have stuck with us through this whole thing and are really supporting us. We have about 6 to 8 staff members who are willing to work pro bono for 6 months to a year while we get established. Our goal is 6 months, though. We have started some community outreach programs. We've worked with local Girl Scout troops. We are reaching out to local schools to try and help with education programs. We have met with the Pet Food Pantry about a partnership of hopefully renting some space to them, which will be great for us and great for the community. We've also spoke with the SPCA about doing a possible partnership. However, things turned out we weren't sure if they were going to be looking into the property or not. So we've talked to them about renting kennel space while they renovate their property. We've been working with the engineers that originally worked on the old Elmsford shelter during evacuation last year. And they are doing a free inspection for us, and they're going to help us with costs as much as they can during repairs. And we have actually received our first grant, and we have a second one coming in the mail, expected probably this week, which is very exciting. And we have received our first vehicle donation of a van. So we are very happy with how far we've come. We've rescued about 30 animals so far and adopted out about 17. So then I'll move on to the next part. In your packets,
Where are the 13 staying?
they're in foster care. We have one dog in boarding, and then the rest are in foster care.
So in summary, you're not procrastinating.
No. We're trying to rescue as much as we can, and we're very limited with what we have now, but we're doing everything we can. And so in your packets, you have our updated budget. Our proposal is a little outdated from a couple months ago, and our budget is our first 6 months is what we estimate to be about $10,000 a month. So right now we have about the first 3 months covered, and our fundraising goal is about $20,000 a month, so that we are always covering ourselves. And we do believe that with our fundraisers that we have planned for the 6 months, we do believe we are being we're being careful. So we think we're going to make more money than we're estimating, but we're just estimating on the low side to be careful.
And that's a very modest
Yes.
estimation with respect to fundraising and the historical fundraising that's been done for that shelter, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are you gonna be doing with, the part of the building that you're not able to use? And, what parts of the building will you use, what parts of the facility will you continue to be able to use? And what can't you use?
Well, we can't really say for sure until our engineers are able to get in there and do an inspection. But based on the last time the engineers were in the building, they had said they believe that the kennel area and the rooms off of the kennel hallway are still usable. So we would entertain the idea of possibly putting a trailer on the property and getting permits for that. But in the beginning, we may not need that, because if those rooms are usable, we can just utilize that and save costs on having to rent a trailer. Thank you.
But you're not providing for that contingency in this.
Yes, because we are planning to just use the rooms off the hallway. But if we do have to, we do have somebody who knows the Casone trailers who will be able to help us with either a free rental or a very discounted rental.
And last time, I think the trailer was, when we had to evacuate,
It was
was provided for free
Yeah.
to us, so.
So-
If worse comes to worse, but.
Yeah, so we are planning on utilizing the rooms off of the kennel hallway, but there is that possibility that will be added to our budget. And right now, the engineers think that the loading dock will be off limits, but limited use to access the utilities. They don't think it's in imminent danger, but they wouldn't want it to be occupied full-time like it was before. And the lobby, the upstairs, and the cat rooms would not be able to be used based on what they saw from the initial report.
How many pets do you think you'd be able to have at the shelter, say, during the first couple months?
First couple months, I'd say we want no more than 40 to 50 dogs at a time. And for cats, it's a little more difficult because we won't have open-range cat rooms for them like we did before. So we do have cat condos, so we would probably keep about 10 cats at a time, and we'd still have foster care for our cats. We
And
keep them in
how
foster
many
homes.
did Pets Alive have when they were operating fully?
80, about 80 cats at any time,
So-
80 to 100.
So it's like, so you'll start with about like half?
Yeah.
And then now, do you feel, in terms of the repairs, what's your plan of action for that?
Our plan is, as soon as everything is signed over, we're going to be starting our capital campaign, and we're going to fundraise like crazy for this, and, it's just going to be a huge capital campaign for this, and it's going to be in phases. Nothing's going to be all at once. We're going to take it slow and do what we can when we can, and work with what we have.
We have outlined a series, about 5 or 6 key big events, from a gala to a spring fling to an opening event, some partnerships and, community outreach. So we do have some serious ideas about 5 or 6 key components that I think are going to be the big part of that capital campaign. But again, that's going to be based on us moving in and getting started.
And the engineer reports, of course.
Yeah.
Right, the engineer
And
report's
we
gonna be a
have the
big
building inspector here.
thing. Right on cue. That's what we're talking about.
Morning, John.
If you let them,
looking at you.
if you let them use the whole building, you could take a cookie.
2 cookies.
You can have the box.
Next time. What will it take for them to use part of the building?
Well, I need their engineer to give me a breakdown of what is off limits and what they can be used. We'd like to see some kind of physical barrier there, temporary masonite wall or something like that, so they couldn't go near it, until such time as the engineer says that it can be used. Either they knock it down or restore it.
But they could use the kennels.
They can use the kennels. I said they could put a trailer on the property if they want. Temporary office. You need your engineer to give us a location on the lot where he's going to put it,
Yeah, and the engineer said they would drop a safety plan for town approvals as well. So, and that, he said it included cordoning off the building.
And then we'll do each phase as we go.
Yeah.
That's what our capital campaign will be, Chapter 1, we'll work on this cat room. Chapter 2, we'll work on this portion, so.
Absolutely, absolutely. So our transition period, we would like to, after everything's transferred, our goal is within a month to open it to the public. Even if it's a soft opening before we do our grand opening, we plan for about a month time to get everything up and running.
That's great. Any other questions, or?
No? we will work with their engineer.
Wonderful.
So Tim, we would be, the goal would be to work with the Pets Alive, board in terms of making sure that we could get the transfer done of the deed as soon as possible, and then we would try doing the transfer the same day.
Right, so I spoke to Mr. Klein a little bit yesterday, and we talked about some of the due diligence efforts that, the Paws Cross may want to conduct in terms of title and ensuring that there are no liens on the property. And I've reached out to the Pets Alive board to try to find out who their attorney is. We're working on the paperwork, and then we would come back to the board and we'd be ready for a simultaneous closing with all parties involved. And I mentioned to everyone that the goal is that the town is really a pass-through here. We certainly don't want any unanticipated consequences, in terms of town expenditures, from the transfer. That's what
Are there any other thoughts that you have? Things that-
Well, we understand that Pets Alive is requesting, or says they are requesting, Attorney General's approval, I guess, in order, in a sense, convey what's, a major asset of their organization to the town. And we're hoping maybe the town could try to get a copy of that, or just sort of have a way to gauge, where does that really stand? I mean, Paws Cross doesn't really have itself kind of a standing to
Right.
push for that or to inquire even with the Attorney General's office, but the town certainly does, since their stated intention is to get this approval so as to convey the property to the town. So we're
Right.
kind of hoping the town can step in and
Yeah,
sort of...
I have a call in to Gary Brown on another matter. He's the regional representative for the Attorney General's office, and I'll speak to him about this, also, and I'll ask him if, they could the Westchester office could sort of expedite this whole, process. You may want to also reach out to the Westchester office of the Attorney General's office and just let them know, that this is going to happen, because with government, and anytime you're dealing with an agency, there's always delays, and if you use this time right now to reach out to them, maybe we could save a couple weeks.
Well, the first step, I guess, would be if there's a way to confirm that, in fact, they've submitted a petition
Right.
for the okay.
Is that required?
They think it is.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you read the guidelines, because on the financial statements for, what's still a standalone, Central Westchester Humane Society as a not-for-profit, it is their major listed asset, even though realistically it has no true market value with the use restriction. But I think, to be safe, I'm sure their counsel is telling their board, you should get the Attorney General's office approval, so you're not later, accused of having, given away the organization's property.
Similar to what occurred with the Unification Church, you may recall that we transferred the property and Attorney General approval was involved, so it's a similar type of situation.
So what's your estimate of the timetable?
Well, it really depends on, again, if you're going to do a title search and whether you're going to get title insurance, and I'm not sure, and it depends on the timetable in terms of the Attorney General's approval from the seller. But if I had to guess, I would say the first or second week in January. Probably the second, not week, but meeting in January, probably the second meeting, if the board has no other issues, with the transfer.
But you can't predict the Attorney General.
Can't predict.
Right, it's beyond our control, and I don't know, but that's where we're kind of hoping.
Right.
The town might be as sort of, it's different than them seeking approval to transfer to some other private entity. I mean, here you've got a
what
municipality
I'm
that's
gonna do-
supportive of this, we hope, and
What I'm going to do is I asked Janelle if she could take this part of the town board meeting and put it on YouTube, and then I'll have a YouTube link, and then this afternoon or tomorrow, I'll send this to the Attorney General's office, and I'll say, this way you could have a better appreciation of, what's happening, and anything their office could do to expedite the transfer would be, appreciated, because what impresses me is I feel you're really organized, you're really passionate, you're really focused. I feel that, the pets and, the cause will be really in good hands. I also feel that Pets Alive did the RFP, so they reached out to like every possible other animal shelter, and they were unable to find anybody else that, you know, that they felt would be a suitable candidate for a shelter. So, you know, nobody could say that we're just turning over the property without doing due diligence, because they certainly spent a lot of time and a lot of resources trying to find somebody else.
Thank you very much. That's very nice. We also will be requesting a walkthrough in the first week of January, just to make sure that there's nothing that's happened overnight in the building that we're not aware of, just to make sure everything's kind of in the same state as when we left in September. So we can coordinate with you guys as well if you want somebody on that with us from the town.
And you may actually be partnering with other, other shelters. You
Yeah.
said, for potential rental,
Absolutely.
revenue. In terms of, let's say they find like a store, like a pet store, what type of zoning restrictions are there, if there are any, on that property?
I'd have to check the code, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm saying, the thing is, are there ways that they could, let's say somebody wants to have a doggy daycare.
Or grooming.
Or grooming, as a possible revenue,
Let me check the code and see if they provide for any accessory,
or they could get variances. Right.
maybe.
I think though,
I wouldn't rely on that.
Let them check the code.
Yeah.
I think
We'll get to that in time.
I think as we look at the first 6 months to a year,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I probably won't be knocking on your door for that particular variance. I think, we're kind of in the business of.
It's the approving agency when they approve the use there anyway, so they probably have to come back to the town board for things like that.
Because I think really the goal is to make sure
I
that.
don't want to quote the quote, but I think it may be problematic.
Yeah.
Nonprofit.
I think we have some other ways
Yeah,
of
Yeah, we're-
running this as a
there's other
business
ways, yeah.
without going to a
We're-
storefront kind of a mode. I think, between pet pantry, other shelters, and of course, there are ways to rescue and run a business. Shelters do this all the time. We can do this too.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll work with you.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so
And
much.
anything that we do transfer, we'll obviously emphasize the Roberta clause again.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Right, so understood, certainly it'll be with the use restriction, so.
Great, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for hearing us again. I know it's been a long time.
Takes time to
It
get all
does.
this together.
It does. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Happy holidays.
Come a long way.